Hello everybody, 32 here, and welcome to another review. So, it has officially been 10 years and 2 months since I first started doing this channel. And aside from my atrociously terrible upload schedule, I think it's safe to say I don't really have many regrets. However, with a channel devoted to the My Little Pony fandom, I feel like one character has gone criminally underrepresented. And that would be Derpy. Undoubtedly my favorite side character in the entire series. So, I gotta do this. I know y'all are waiting for Spiders and Magic episode 3, and I will get to that, but I need to do this, alright? So without further ado, let's talk about Left 4 Derpy. A Left 4 Dead, My Little Pony crossover with Derpy. So, I'll be honest. I've been meaning to review this one for a while. In fact, I've read it 3 times in the past 10 years in preparation for a full video. Is it because it's some great masterpiece? A horrible dumpster fire? Nope, it's because it's this weird, shallow, yet oddly entertaining fanfic that feels closer to a popcorn flick than any other story I've ever read. What do I even think of this story? I don't know. I have been pondering this for a while. So you know what? Let's just get into it. Let's digest it together, guys. That was probably a weird turn of phrase. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Meet Ditsy, aka Derpy. Male mare, mother, and muffin aficionado. After a long day of work, she goes to sleep and shortly awakens in a dingy New York apartment. Confused by the change of scenery, she explores her new setting only to come across a zombie, specifically a hunter, finishing up his latest meal. Not liking to be disturbed, he decides to make Derpy his dessert. However, before he can make his move, he's chased off by the biker man known as Francis and his fellow human survivors, who are a bit confused by the pony's existence. Unfortunately, there's no time to explain, as the zombies are hot on their trail. What follows is a retelling of the first campaign of Left 4 Dead, No Mercy, with Derpy along for the ride. Now at this point you might be wondering, wait, how did Ditsy get to New York? The answer? Yeah, no idea. She's there because the author willed it so. Some might see this as lazy, but I can respect it. Not every isekai needs to be that deep. Do you really need a 10-page essay for why every truck driver in Tokyo needs their license taken away? Anyway, with barely an explanation given, Derpy and the gang start heading towards the city hospital, where they hope to signal a helicopter to pick them up. Since the pony cannot operate a gun, as she does not have the proper license, the crew gives her a katana, which she can hold with her teeth. I have to unfortunately dock a few points for this because the cover promised me that she would be using a novelty muffin launcher. When will fanfic authors start to have some damn integrity? Obviously, since Ditsy has never used a weapon like this before, it's gonna take some time for her to... I am the storm that is approaching. Okay, as it turns out, she's really f***ing good at it. Like, a little too good at it. I think she's killed before. You see, when Francis gets ambushed during a scouting mission, Ditsy takes out a bunch of zombies like they were the last muffins at a bake sale. Really? That's the best I could come up with? Are you freaking kidding me? Speaking of the golden-haired mare, let's talk about characterization. Ditsy is the ray of sunshine in this group. She's altruistic, goofy, and almost everyone takes a shine to her really quickly. She's also a bit naive, like when she gets attacked by a witch, because she thought that, oh no, someone was in trouble. This was after she was warned about witches, mind you. Aside from that, she also has her trademark love of muffins. which is brought up a bunch. I know we take it for granted, but isn't it weird that everyone just collectively agreed that muffin loving was going to be half her personality because she was hungry once? Right, aside from that, there's not much to talk about. She's a pretty static character throughout. No crazy Ellie Last of Us descent into madness sort of thing here, which I think is fine. She's only there for like, what, less than 10 hours? It would be a bit weird for a complete change in that short period of time. I guess there is one moment where she gets uncharacteristically pissed because Francis and Lewis get into a pissing contest. I feel like anyone would snap in a stressful situation like that. In short, she is the cheery optimist who is supposed to play off our more grizzled human survivors. Speaking of which, let's talk about the 4 part in Left 4 Dead. First, we have Francis, the tsundere of the party. He's a rough and tough biker man who totally hates prissy little ponies. He's got a loud mouth and runs straight into danger, much to the chagrin of his team. As you might predict, he's not a fan of Ditzy at the start, but she grows on him by the time the story ends. Then you have the rest. Bill, Chloe, and Lewis are pretty distinct characters in the game, but in the context of Left 4 Derpy, they all feel a bit samey. Specifically, they all do the same thing. Support Ditzy and tell Francis to go f*** himself. The last part is pretty true in the game as well, but aside from that, they don't really have unique relationships with each other. I feel like you could swap their dialogue with each other and not really notice. Their banter with each other also pales in comparison to the source material. The game doesn't have a ton of interactions, but when they do happen, I found myself laughing out loud more than I thought I would. Crashing will be the easiest thing they do today. Uh-oh.
You're still wearing that tie, Louis?
That's ominous.
What, you got a meeting?
That's funny, Francis. Why don't you take your mustache, your little vest, and your chaps and go find yourself a parade?
Here, though, the insults and quips just don't pack the same punch, and no joke earned more than a sensible chuckle from me. This is by far the most disappointing aspect of Left 4 Derpy. I do suppose I should mention the villain, which the story has for some reason. The hunter zombie they meet at the beginning of their journey develops a personal grudge against the survivors for taking a pot shot at him. So he spends the entire story following them around and setting up zombie horde ambushes to catch them off guard. It's not a bad inclusion. I like how it creates a little bookend of the story wherein that Francis and Derpy have to team up and take him out at the climax, thus cementing their friendship. However, I still found it odd. When I fought against the hunters in the game, I wasn't thinking, ah yes, truly these creatures are Machiavellian schemers playing 4D chess while we're here playing checkers. I was usually thinking, oh god! Ah! Speaking of the ending, after the crew make it to the hospital roof and fend off an imposing horde, they finally get rescued by a nearby helicopter and escape the city. Unfortunately, the pilot wasn't feeling too good that day, and they ended up crashing. The 4 humans make it out of the wreckage, but Ditzy does not. With zombies on their trail, they have no choice but to keep on moving on. The next morning, Ditzy awakens in her own bed. Whew, she's relieved to learn that the whole thing was just a silly dream. Ha ha ha! That is until she finds her katana tucked beneath her blanket. Da da da. The end. Left 4 Derpy is an odd duck of a story. Even after reading it 3 times, I'm not sure how much I actually like it. The whole idea of Derpy slaughtering hordes of the undead is entertaining, and the short length ensures that it doesn't outstay its welcome. However, the story also feels a bit shallow. Francis and Ditzy are the only characters and relationship that have any meat on their bones. Ditzy herself brought a welcome lightheartedness to the story, but I feel like the author relied too much on the tropes without doing anything interesting with the character. All of this has me wondering, if the overall experience is fun but fleeting, why do I keep coming back to it? Why has this thing lived rent-free in my head for years now? Maybe it's because of all the weird choices the author makes. Like, why did we need a sentient zombie villain? Why did Francis start to turn into a pony after Ditzy bit him at the beginning of the story? Oh did I forget to mention that? Yeah, he starts growing hair in weird places like he's going through a second puberty. It has no effect on the story, but it's there. I guess that would have paid off in the sequel, but that seems to be on the back burner. But don't worry guys, I'm sure they'll pick it back up eventually. And that's the review. If you stayed this long, thank you for watching. I really appreciate ya. Spiders of Magic episode 3 is coming up next. Hopefully not in a year. I'll try to get it out a little faster. But also feel free to check out my Twitch channel. I go on there sometimes, maybe like once a week, once every other week if I feel good about it. Otherwise, I'll just leave you with a clip I made while I was playing Left 4 Dead with my friends back in the day. So enjoy!
He has a Twitch integration with the game, so that way.
Oh my god!
Oh! Oh my god! Oh! Oh! That is amazing.
Like, how?